Hey, welcome back to Bravo 26 Tactical. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about some quick tips on mounting scopes and the proper way to do it and how to make sure everything gets level and squared up. All right, so what we're looking at is I've taken the scope and scope rings completely off. The problem with this rifle is that there was some inconsistency with the grouping when it was being shot. So typically when shots get all over the place, one of the first things you want to look at is your scope mount, your rings, make sure everything's all squared up. And in this particular case, the crosshairs were actually not squared up with the rifle. So what we've done, we've gone ahead and leveled the rifle out, as which you can see right here on that level. And we wanted to also make sure that it was square and level, as what you can see on the back here. Now, on initial inspection, the scope mounting base was actually not torqued down properly. 2 of the 4 screws were definitely not torqued down. One was okay, that front one was okay. The rear one, not so much, but the 2 middle ones, you can see that one's a little out of focus, that one right there, and then that one again right there, was definitely not torqued down properly. So we've gone ahead and torqued them down to the proper specifications. Now, with making sure that this thing is completely level, one thing that I find that people do wrong is they always want to level using here and not the gun itself, not the receiver itself. So we've actually squared everything up on the gun to the mounting base. And I'm going to take this level here and we're going to move it on top here. And just to kind of show you, put it into perspective, why you should never do that. If I put that level bubble across the top of the rings, you can see it is not level with the rifle. If I move that level bubble to the back ring, you can see it's a little more level. So before we even get started with this, what ends up happening is if you don't level to the gun itself, if you don't square the rings and that scope with the gun itself, it's going to be completely off. If those crosshairs get cocked just a little bit, it's going to throw your accuracy off. So let's go ahead and get this thing mounted up. All right, so the first thing is when I took the scope off, I went ahead and indicated with a piece of tape where his eye relief was set, because we don't want to change that at all. Just for those of you who are not familiar with that term, eye relief, it's the distance between the reticle and your eye. So that reticle end, which is the back part of that scope, and your eye, for you to be able to put that eye just at the right distance to where you don't see any shadow. That's called your eye relief. So we put a piece of tape right there to make sure that we maintain the same exact eye relief as when we took it off. All right, so we've got the top rings back on, and what I've done, I've left the screws loose, so that way I have this movement. All right, I want to bring that scope just to where that tape touches that first ring. All right, so just as reference, I just used a series of leveled lines that I've drawn on some tape on the side of the shop freezer here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to align the crosshairs, the horizontal crosshair, with those lines, because that is going to give me my absolute most accurate and level and square measurement for the rifle. Now, unfortunately, in this case, I'm not able to show you a picture of what the crosshairs look like through the scope with the phone. Evidently, that camera just does not work. At least not looking through a scope. And I don't have one of them fancy cameras to look through the scope yet, so you're just gonna have to trust me on this one. So now that I have everything squared up, I'm gonna show you another trick here. Grab this level, and this is another mistake that I see people do. They put it on top and expect it to stay level. Well, it's not. And if you look at our level down here, I don't know if you can see it, it is still level with the gun. So do not, under any circumstance, think that this is the proper way to mount a scope. It is not. You will not get it square to the gun. This is the only way to do it. So the next thing that we want to do before we start torquing these screws down is we want to look at the space in between the top ring and the bottom ring, okay? And what we want to make sure of is that on each side of the scope, that the space is absolutely equal. And I don't mean front and back, I mean side to side, as in right and left. So let's go ahead and get those spaces equal and start torquing this thing down. All right, so we got everything nice and torqued down and pulled the indicator tape off of there. And let's see if we can get a shot at what this looks like as far as space between the top of the ring and the bottom of the ring. It's nice and equal on that side. Let's spin around on this side. That one's looking nice and equal. Here and there, everything looks pretty equal. He's maintained his proper eye relief that he had set before, and his scope is now mounted perfectly square. All right, so I hope this video was informative for some of you guys, if not all of you guys. If you liked it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Also hit that notification bell so that way whenever I do put up new videos, you get an alert and you can watch it as soon as it's put out. Thanks for watching, and make sure you check us out at www.bravo26tactical.com.